welcome to the STEM Brothers podcast. I'm Kwesi Vincent.
And I'm Bosir Vincent.
And we are the STEM Brothers. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. This is the third episode of our podcast. And if this happens to be the first time you're listening to us, our podcast is about having discussions on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, acronym that you see in the media a lot these days. We're about having these conversations surrounding science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in a way that brings to light how STEM impacts our everyday life and how the individuals, the professionals, the STEM professionals, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics professionals, how their jobs, how the work that they do impacts us as a society. And we hope by having these discussions and bringing this information to light, this inspires you to pursue one of these types of careers in STEM, or even if you don't have any intention on pursuing a full-time career in a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics-based discipline, just being able to understand the importance of when you're in school, learning science, learning math, and learning it well and becoming literate with science, technology, mathematics, even engineering thinking. When you become literate in these areas, in these disciplines, it helps you make better decisions in our world and in our society. So I go into a longer sort of explanation of this in the first episode, but I always want to remind folks, especially as we're just getting started here, what you can expect to hear on these podcasts. So that's what you can expect to hear: a really good, interesting, casual discussion about something within the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics realm, something having to do with a topic in those particular areas, as well as a discussion about the folks who work in those areas, work in the sciences, the technology, engineering, and mathematics areas, and as well as a discussion around how you can pursue some professional opportunities in those realms as well. So that's what we set out to do, and that's what the podcast is about. So with that said, let me check in with my brother over there, Bosir. How's everything going?
Everything's going great over here. I just wanted to add one element that I was thinking about earlier in the week when we were talking about trying to help people become literate. And another way to look at that is a lot of things we see, you can almost describe them as magic. And we want to break that down and almost tell a little bit of those secrets for those normal everyday things that people just assume are magic. Outside of that, I'm doing excellent, Kwesi. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm doing really well. I'm doing excellent also, I should say. And just hearing you mention some of the intentions of the podcast just got me thinking about just the other day, one of the light bulbs in my bedroom, and me and my wife's bedroom, had gone out, and I had to replace it. So, I get the ladder, go up, unscrew the light bulb, screw it back in, and, I flip on the light switch, and lo and behold, boom, light comes on. And, I just started thinking about, man, that simple action of flipping on a light switch and having the light come on, to be able to harness the power of electricity and turn that into the illumination of light at the flip of a switch is really some powerful stuff. And it's something that we take for granted as a society, because especially here in the United States, because we've had that ability for so long. And that really got me to thinking about how something as mundane as turning on a light switch, how much science, technology, engineering, and mathematics goes into the building the infrastructure and the capabilities for that to be possible. And so that thought then became the idea for today's interview subject. And that is a discussion that we had with our cousin, Jessel McConnie, who is an engineering manager at GE, General Electric. And as you'll hear in the interview, General Electric is a major player in the STEM field. It's a huge company, and they are responsible for a lot of the major products and services in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And as the name implies, obviously their foundation is built on the products and services built around the generation of electricity and power. Thomas Edison, a lot of the products a lot of things that came out of his invention of the light bulb, that was the basis of GE. That's how GE was built as a company. So that's who we're talking to, Jessel McConnie. It's a great interview, and we hope you enjoy it. So give it a listen, and we'll talk to you on the back end. Thanks. Okay, so we have on the line the first time actually I heard about engineering is when this guy and his brother, when my parents told me that they were majoring in engineering at Penn State. So he and his brother were the first kind of individuals who planted the seed of engineering as a major in my mind. So we're keeping this an all-family affair here on the STEM Brothers podcast, and we'd like to welcome to the show our cousin, Jessel McConnie.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Quincy. I'm glad to hear that, because, funny you say that, because my dad, too, was an engineer, and that's how I heard about engineering. So it's good that we kind of had that flow-through of information when it comes to engineering.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely, it wasn't even a major that I knew about or something that I thought about until, hey, Wendell and Jessel, they're majoring in engineering at Penn State. It's like, oh, okay. So the lineage was set. So thank you very much. So Jessel, we'll get right into the topic of today. So as we record this, it's summertime. So just coming in from outside after a hot day, whether exercising or just working out or what have you, coming home, want to go to the refrigerator, get a cold drink with some ice, want to throw on the air conditioner, the AC in the house or the apartment, and then I want to pop on the television and watch a little Sports Center. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how the things that General Electric, GE, the things that they make and the things that they do that make all of those things possible that we take for granted?
Sure, Christy. I'll be happy to do that. And just a brief background of GE, or General Electric. We're talking about a 122-year-old company. If you ever heard of a guy called Thomas Edison, you might know his name from light bulb references. He was one of the inventors of the light bulb. He really was the founding father of General Electric. And General Electric is more from just really a pure electrical company to doing a number of other things. We have our hands in healthcare, oil and gas, aviation, capital, real estate. It's really a large conglomerate now with a lot of global reach. The division that I work in is called Power and Water, and no surprise there, I work in the power piece of it, but we also have water, which deals a lot with industrial filtration and ensuring that proper water and clean water can get to folks all over the globe. But back on the power side, you're talking about coming in from a hot day and turning on the air conditioner and reaching into the fridge. Just stop and think about what allows you to do that. Every time you switch a light on or switch the TV on or radio on, all of these things are made possible through power and power generation. And a lot of people may take it for granted, and especially in North America, we have an ample supply of power. But you start thinking of it globally, and there are regions of the world that the power supply is not as reliable as we have in North America. So there are parts of the globe where folks would come in off a hot day and switch that light and nothing happens. They switch that TV on and nothing happens. And that's all because of the demand. The supply is not meeting the demand. So that, I'm glad you put that in perspective, because everything we do today pretty much uses some sort of power, right? And that power has to be generated somehow. One of the things that I partake in is what we call gas turbine power generation. So we use, what we're doing here is using the gas turbine to provide work to turn a copper field through a magnetic field to push current from a generator through the power lines to homes and businesses. And when we think about it, one home with everything you said, a fridge, lights, air condition, may use about 3,000 watts of energy.
Wow.
What we produce, gas turbine and generator combinations that can go up to 200 and 300 megawatts
wow.
of electricity. So, it's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful. One thing I want to explain in terms of a gas turbine, it's really a fascinating piece of engineering science. We're taking air, right, just intake of air, compressing it, and then lighting it or burning it, combusting it, to expand it rapidly so that you can take the work from that rapid expansion and turn it into a mechanical work that rotates that copper field in that generator.
Yes.
And we're doing that at 36 RPMs, right? So 3,600 RPMs, to ensure that the power supply meets the demand.
Absolutely.
So it's fascinating, real fascinating stuff.
Yeah. Are you able to kind of quantify or give a comparison, 3,600 RPMs, are you able to compare how that relates to, let's say, a motor or something in a car? It's okay if not, just in terms of so folks can get an idea of the order of magnitude that
Sure.
speed is.
Sure, I think, but when you think of RPMs, I guess one way to think about it is maybe a bicycle,
yeah.
right? I think we all ride bicycles, and you think of your feet pedaling, and you think, well, how many times can I pedal in a minute, right?
Yes.
And I think I don't know, most of us would probably get to maybe 50, 60 rotations a minute. And that's probably when you're trying to book it. Now you extrapolate that to 3,600 rotations a minute. You're going to be booking pretty fast.
Yeah.
And so that's the rotational speed that you have on these shafts that are producing the current that's allowing us to power all the needs we have on a day-to-day basis.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty large scale. Something to keep in mind is, from a residential aspect, the power consumption is needed. But when you start thinking of industrial, when you start thinking of heavy machinery, you start thinking of oil rigs, and you start thinking of large-scale refrigeration plants, even think of things like servers, right? So you think of Apple, Google, eBay, Walmart, these servers that are taking all this social network of information require huge demand of power, a huge demand of energy. So you think of that demand, it's pretty staggering. It's pretty staggering.
Absolutely. Where would you say is the most what areas of the world is this technology most in need? I know we're looking at rapid expansion, as you said, of things like social media, the growth of nations like China, things like that. And I know you do some international travel, so I'm wondering in terms of taking a quick worldwide view, who's purchasing these turbines that you guys make?
You name it, right? Every corner of the globe. Like I said, power is needed everywhere. All right, if there's a light, you're generating power somehow to turn that light on. When you look at the global market, North America is pretty big. We're looking at maybe 530 gigawatts of power generated. You look at the Middle East. They're pretty large. There's a lot of oil refineries, a lot of industrial needs in that region. So they have about maybe 118 gigawatts. You look at Asia, like you said, it's a large expanse, the huge population that Asia holds, and the power demand that continues to grow with each advancement of technology. They're about 188 gigawatts. And then you have, South America's there. You got parts of Europe, and then last but not least, one of our biggest growing segments is Africa. All right, there's the piece that's been missing in Africa is the infrastructure to allow that power to get to remote areas, and that's being built as we speak. So there's a huge opportunity in parts of Africa to get power to places that need it. So that's you should take a global look. Those are some of the areas that I would think that we have. And one thing to point out, I'm in the gas turbine field, but power generation can be a number of different sources. Right? So Europe, for instance, they're getting a lot of their power through wind, where the principle is the same. You need something to turn that copper field. So what they're using is the wind turbine to power that torque to generate the current from each of the turbines. And they use also a lot of nuclear, where they use the steam to rotate the torque, to provide the torque through generators to provide power. And then, some places are starting to use solar, which is a different technology model where you don't have that rotation, but you're trying to get transfer of solar power, solar cells converted into some sort of current to provide power where the demand is needed. So these are all different things globally that as an engineer that you're trying to solve. You're trying to solve the power the planet needs and ensure that you do it in an environmentally safe manner.
Is there one that, and it's okay if you're not permitted to give your opinion on this, but is there one of those generation methods that you see as the best as far as efficiency, as far as least amount of harmful emissions or pollution in the aftermath of the energy being generated? And the reason why I ask is because we see now that a lot of debate goes on about the extraction of shale gas, natural gas, things like that. I'm just curious if there's one method in particular that you see as the best, given the pluses and the minuses that there's always going to be some give and take with whatever method you choose. So.
Yeah, and you're right. It's a complicated formula, right? It's a complicated question to answer because your definition of best varies, depends who you talk to. When you talk about power density, the gas turbine is probably going to win that every single time just because the footprint needed to generate the amount of power that it generates is small compared to solar or wind or even nuclear, right? So someone will say, well, what's the best power density? And then someone else may say, well, what's the lowest cost, right? And so then folks that do a lot of coal-fired plants using coal are going to say, well, the cost is the best for coal. But then, folks that are concerned about the environment would then say, well, that's not the best. The best for the environment maybe you start looking at solar, but when you think of the efficiencies of solar, that's not the best, right? So you start looking at the landscape or the footprint of solar. You got to be pretty big before you can get to a solar plant that's going to satisfy the demand, the growing demand of the globe. Same thing with wind, right? You think of wind turbines and the acreage that you need to get the megawatts needed to fit the demand. It's a lot more than say a gas turbine. So when you say the best, it really depends on which eyes are looking through that lens. All right, there's a lot of different things. The nuclear folks would say, well, the nuclear is probably the most efficient, but then you got there's some environmental concerns, especially when it comes to if there's any risks, right? And that's something you always have to consider. But it's complicated.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a best, and to be honest, I don't think one is going to satisfy the global demand. I think you're going to have all of the above to be able to get the supply to satisfy the demand. And keep in mind that the global demand is growing 3% every year.
Wow.
So when you think about that, it's really a growth industry, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Jessel, with all that said, I think there's a good point to transition with so many different possibilities for the future, for the people listening to this podcast, for anyone looking to get into this industry. What are the potential paths that someone could take? You can maybe even begin to talk about how did you find out about GE and the industry and what got you into this field?
Yeah. Well, one of the first things is get interested in science, right? Science and engineering and math. That's everything we do is really based on physics, and you got to have a firm understanding of physics and some of the math that goes into the physics. So I think that would be step one, right? When you talk about learning about GE in particular, I mean that's a website search, right? That's GE.com. But I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't limit it to just GE, right? There's a lot of different players, I would say, in the power industry, and like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. So there's not one solution; there's many solutions. So you got to get the fundamentals to be able to explore these different solutions, and you can't do that without getting into science and technology. All right, so that would be step one, and again, the further and the more you can grow your skill set in that field, I think the more options you're going to have to really be able to be a value player and contribute to that field. So that would be my advice, is just get involved in that. Later on in life, and in terms of engineering degrees, there's a variety of them. Any engineering degree, I think, gets you to a skill set that's needed and will continue to be needed. That would be my take on it. I think definitely get involved, and if you're in high school, get involved in the science club. If you're in middle school, get involved in STEM programs. If there's not a STEM program, try to get involved in the math and technology portion. Those are things that I would see as a really strong foundation to get into this field.
Great. Along those lines, Jessel, if you could kind of identify the various points along the value chain of obviously your expertise at the point you're in your career right now are the turbines. So let's talk about all the different roles that it takes to bring a turbine from design all the way out to installation and implementation in an actual infrastructure, a power system, a power generation system.
Sure. That's a great question, and you really start with conceptual, right? So you got to, like I said before, you got to understand the physics, because that's going to be your border. That's going to be your box that you can work in. And once you understand the physics, now you have to bring in your creative ideas on design. So the design engineers are working on it, and these engineers, could range from mechanical engineers to there's some industrial engineering. There's a number of different types of engineering that can go into that, drafting engineering, things like that. Keep in mind the gas turbines has to be fueled somehow. So we're using different types of gas, and when I say gas, there's natural gas, but there's a variety of different flavors of gas, for lack of a better term. And there's a lot of chemical engineering that goes into that, right? You're trying to make sure that you have the most efficient combustion possible. So you got some chemical engineering that goes into that fuel. So you get the concept, you put it on paper, then you got to build a prototype, right? So any sort of technologist, machining skill, mechanical, again, back to the mechanical piece of it. You're going to build that prototype, and you're going to build that concept that you had on paper, and you're going to build it physically, and then you're going to test it. All right, so there's a host of engineers that are testing, system engineers that are testing it. With the tests, we're getting data. One of the big things now is data analytics. Analytical engineering is a term that we're using now, where it's a massive amount of data, and we almost have to decode the data to see what it's telling us. So that's almost a brand new field that's coming up here. Computer science, right? So computer engineering, we got to control it through software on what we want the turbine to do, how we want it to burn, how we want it to start up, how we want it to shut down. All these different things go into the testing. And then once it's validated, we can market it. All right, so now we got marketers coming to the engineering team to say, what can this do? And then the engineers have to explain it in a term where our customers will be able to easily see the value. So even in our marketing department, we actually have engineers that work in our marketing department that market this product. And the sales team has to understand the product, has to understand what the customer's needs are. And we got engineers in our sales team that go out and sell this. So once it's sold and we ship it out and we have, our logistics engineers figure out the most efficient way to transport this 50-ton piece of equipment over to our customer site, then we have folks install it. So we got field engineers that go out there and ensure that our procedures are followed. They ensure that we're following our own written guidelines and how we should install it. We got civil engineers figuring out the foundation that it needs to go on. Once we have all these parts coming in and engineers putting it together, then we're ready to test it at the customer site. All right, so we got contract performance engineers out there sitting down with the customer saying, hey, here's how we've put your product that you bought from us together, and here's how it's going to provide what we promised. And then once it's up and running, that final handshake at the end where the customer says, thanks, I'll take it from here. The customer has a whole army of engineers to ensure that product that they bought continues to operate for over 30 years or more in some cases. So I don't think that gives a picture of all the different steps and functions and especially the engineering functions, because we're very heavily influenced engineering company, but that's pretty much a walkthrough from concept to first fire is what the term we use that we go through on one of our products.
No, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Basir, did you have a follow-up to that?
No, I think that's an excellent question. That's an excellent answer to that, and it shows how many different possible careers can blossom. And I definitely want to highlight the aspect of you need engineers to be able to explain this and be able to join those marketing teams. That's an area where I don't think a lot of people understand this. They need engineers who have both of those skill sets to understand that strong science and actual strong communications.
Absolutely. So you touched on, and we'll wrap up here in a couple minutes. So you touched on some of the things that a middle school student can do, a high school student can do. Let's talk to the college audience really quick. If you're a college student and you're majoring in, well, number one, let's just assume that you don't know what you're going to major in. You're a STEM, but you're going to do something in the sciences and the STEM-related fields, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. What are some of the things that you would recommend to that person as far as the questions they should be asking themselves about the types of career or where they want to take their career, the types of career opportunities they want to explore, things of that nature. As a college freshman, you're going to do something related to STEM. What are some of the things that you would recommend for someone and you want to do something in energy? And I should add that you want to do something in energy. What are some of the things they should be considering?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because again, that this is a growth field, right? So the next 10 years we probably have 30% growth in energy demand, and not just one type of energy source, right? We have a number of energy sources. A lot of folks are trying to solve this power question. As a college, a freshman, someone coming into college in the early years, I would think of something that you can get involved in that you can pivot. With the term we use is pivot, that you can jump around for number of industrial applications, right? So what I mean by that is there are some engineering fields that tend to zone in and focus, which is fine too if you know and you're sure and you're passionate about that focus. Then by all means, focus on that, right? And I'm just an example, say petroleum engineering, big field, huge field, very good field, but you sort of zone in on one aspect of that engineering. And same thing with, say, nuclear engineering, another good field. There's a lot of neat stuff, but you tend to focus on nuclear. And if you're passionate about that, by all means, go for that. But I would say if you don't know and you're not sure what you're passionate about and you're unclear of what direction, I would say stick to the engineering fields where you can provide yourself with some diversification in industry. And what I mean by that is, say, mechanical engineers can really be used across the spectrum. So you can use it in oil and gas, where the petroleum engineers are. You can use it in the energy structure. You can use it in the aviation structure. You can use it in a number of different things. Same thing with chemical engineering, right? So chemical engineering can be used across the board. Industrial engineering. Some of these engineering fields, if you're not sure which one you want to be in, stay with the ones that you have flexibility to focus on later on in your career. That's what I would say. But if you have a passion, and if you know you absolutely love a certain field, by all means, you can zone in on that particular engineering field. So I don't want to guide folks one way or the other, because that's really a personal decision and a personal question. But that would be my advice, to look at it both ways. If you want to focus on one thing and you're sure, by all means. If you're not sure, pick one of the engineering fields where you have the ability to move around. Gotcha. That would be my suggestion.
Gotcha. Absolutely. And as you mentioned earlier, the process of designing, building, and installing and selling and marketing a turbine requires engineers across several different disciplines. So,
right.
I guess, if you keep yourself diverse, it'll allow you to, as you call it, pivot. So it's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When I was a young engineer, I thought about when I first came out, what exactly engineering is. Mm-hmm. And, early in my career, I came up with the idea that engineering is really problem solving.
Yes. And
if you can solve problems, then it doesn't matter what industry the problem is. Right? As long as you can solve that problem, then you're doing engineering. So with that in mind, you can use engineering in every aspect in life. That's, I think most of the industries are trying to solve some sort of problem. You think healthcare, right? The doctors are trying to solve a problem.
Yes.
Right? It's problem solving. You think entertainment, right? There's a better, easier way of, or more embraced way of doing something. It's a problem that needs to be solved. So engineering can solve that. And you think finance, right? Finance. How can we increase our cash flow, or how can we increase our earnings? That's a problem, and there's someone's trying to solve that problem. So that, in my mind, that's what engineering is, right? It's solving problems.
Yes. Well said. Well said. Well, with that, Jessel, thank you so much. Basir, was there anything else for our guest?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jessel.
Yeah. Thanks, Jess.
Yeah, no, hey, thanks a lot, guys. I mean, I really am impressed and inspired by what you guys are doing in terms of STEM. We need the next generation. We need new ideas. We need folks coming in with a brand new way to look at things. And I think there's a kid out there that has solutions to these problems I talked about.
Yes.
Right? They just got to get into the right field and share those ideas, and I'm confident that we're going to solve these issues. But we just got to find that kid out there and ensure that they have the platform to bring their potential out and do their best.
Absolutely. Well, and hopefully that kid will find this interview, and because I think you gave some great guidance and some great insight, and I think the discussion that we had here could spark the mind of that kid that finds that next great solution. So thank you.
Sure.
And welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that interview, that discussion with our cousin Jessel. Very knowledgeable guy. Pasir, what did you think of the interview?
I thought it was great. I love the doors that are open to how many different avenues. It's not just one. It's not just my path. It's not just your path. There's tons of potential areas you can get into or fields you can get into. If you look at current events, look at recently, at the time we're recording this, Barack Obama, our President of the United States, is taking a trip to Kenya. And I know there are a lot of other stories in the news about what he's talking about, but one of them is directly related to power and getting power to various places in Kenya and throughout Africa. That's one of his initiatives. And that's what science, technology, engineering, and math helps us do, help us solve those types of big world problems. These are the problems that will shape our future. These are the problems that will lead us into the next generation, that will save us. And science, technology, engineering, math, people who are understanding those concepts, and as we said before, people who are literate in that, they will be the ones driving the ship of life going into the future.
Absolutely, man. That is a great point. That's a great point. There's so much power, electricity. These are the foundations. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, we take for granted that we can flip on a switch, turn on, and the lights come on. Take it on a industrial level. You have, in order for a lot of our big time factories and different things like that to operate, they need reliable, uninterrupted power. So when you think about a country like a Kenya or some other country that is looking to expand its industrial base and its economic opportunity for its people, the ability to get electricity and reliable power and to create that is a big cornerstone of that development of a nation or a country or even a area, a specific area of anywhere. I'm certain there are remote areas in more modern societies like ours where power is an issue, and so
it's huge.
Yeah,
and like you said at the intro and during it, we take it for granted that we can go into our house and flip on a light switch. We take it for granted that we have this here. That power, we see power as magic. And I go back to that analogy. We see power as just something that just happens, and it doesn't just happen. There's a lot of work going on to make this happen.
Absolutely. So, well, we hope you enjoyed that discussion, and we hope you go seeking more information about opportunities to get involved with the science and the technology behind generating power, generating electricity, because it's something that, as we said, is so important. And there are areas of this world where the ability to get that reliable power and energy will make all the difference, save lives, create opportunities for people. But even here in our country, as we look to improve how we get energy, because we're using more and more energy, right, as a country. So even here in the United States, we need professionals. We need people out there solving our problems about how to generate reliable energy that we need to make our modern society run. So before we go, just wanted to remind folks that me and my brother are available to come in to speak. If you're a teacher, educator, and you have a group of students in a science, math class, or just in general, a general assembly, and you're looking for some speakers to come in and talk about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, we can put together, or we do have a great presentation that we do for K through 12, that whole window. So we can specify it to your particular needs, but we have something that we do that we think is really powerful, and not only helps students get interested in STEM as a career, but also helps them with most importantly, help them with the skills they need to develop the skills they need to do well in science and math and academically overall. So we think it's a great all-purpose presentation and workshop that we do that has impact for students academically beyond their science and math courses, but obviously the foundation and the basis of what we do is surrounded by showing the importance and demonstrating the importance of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics and the implementation in the real world. So with that said, if you want to contact us for things like that, or if you have questions about anything that we talk about in the podcast, if you have suggestions for other topics that you'd like to see us cover, if you would like to be interviewed for the podcast, it's a great way to get your brand out there, to let people know what you're doing in the STEM field. If you like to have a discussion with us, we'd love to talk to you and let the world know what it is that you're doing specifically in the STEM field and how it impacts our lives. So you can contact us at stembros@gmail.com. That's STEMBROS @gmail.com. One more time, that's STEMBROS@gmail.com, stembros@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. We'll get right back to you, and we hope that we can either do something with you as an partner with you as an educator, even if you're a parent and you want some coaching, or you want some materials, you want a curriculum that you can run through if you're homeschooling, or if you just want something that you can go through with your child that they can do outside of school, and you want a curriculum that they can run through that will help them develop their science, technology, engineering, and math skills, as well as make them better informed about the career opportunities in those fields. Contact us for that. If you're a college student and you're looking for some information about the different fields in STEM, and you're making decisions about what you want to major in, all that kind of stuff, contact us. We can help you. If you're a professional and you're looking for a career change, and you're thinking that something in the STEM field is a place where you want to go, and you want to know more information about some particular area of STEM and where some of the professional opportunities may be, contact us for that as well. So we're here to be an information source about STEM and science, technology, engineering, and math, and how you can get involved and how you can impact a particular area of STEM and thereby impact our lives and the society's lives. So with that said, Basir, I want to thank you. And
definitely. Thanks, Quakey. And we want to throw another thank you to our cousin Jessel, who provided a great interview.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. stembros@gmail.com. Please contact us and subscribe and let folks know about this podcast. Let them know what you learned. Let them know where we're at. And please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for your time, and we are gone.